Greetings. Hi, this is Dr. Lisa Wicker. I'm making technology happen today here at the New York airport. Sometimes we make things happen regardless of the circumstances. So I'm glad to be with you this morning on the Inside Career Success Show, where we interview powerful women making a difference in the marketplace, women that are lifting others, women who are celebrating others, and women who compel themselves to do the business of business in the marketplace. And today is a little different than others. As I say, Career Mastered is in New York, but we are having the show as we know the show to be, one of a powerful conversation. And so today I'm excited to present to you Kelley Stokes-Samuel. Kelley is a fundraiser and diversity and inclusion advocate dedicated to the experience of advancing nonprofit missions through philanthropy. Kelley currently serves as the Senior Major Gifts Officer for the Detroit Institute of Arts. Prior, she was the Mayo Clinic Officer for groundbreaking medical research, education programs, and practice. Kelley was also the chair of the Mayo Department of Development, Inclusion, and Diversity Council, leading initiatives to advance belonging, equity within the organization and the fundraising professionals. Prior to her work at Mayo Clinic, Kelley held major fundraising roles of Michigan and I think it's Michigan and Wayne State University. Kelley holds a Master's of Arts in Education and Human Development and a Bachelor's of Arts in English and from the George Washington University in DC. Let's welcome Kelley. Good
Good
morning.
morning. Hi, Dr. Wicker.
I hope I'm so glad that you could be with us today. And for our audience that may be joining us, Kelley is in Michigan, actually, my hometown of Detroit. And I'm excited to talk with her today about her exciting roles and what she's done with her career. And to get right into it, because we know that technology is kind of funny today, we're going to get started. So, Kelly, tell us about your background and how you got into the role that you're doing now into philanthropy.
Sure. Well, thank you so much for having me. I'm just honored to be able to chat a little bit about the wonderful folks who have influenced my career and the work that I've been privileged to be able to do. My name is Kelley Stokes-Samuel. I am currently a senior major gifts officer on the development team at the Detroit Institute of Arts. As Dr. Wicker mentioned, the Detroit area is my hometown. I grew up in Southfield and West Bloomfield, and then spent time in Washington, D.C. at the George Washington University, where I earned my bachelor's and my master's degree. And GW was also the place where I had the fortune of falling into development pretty early in my career. Development and philanthropy tends to be a profession that people come to in some circuitous route. There are very few undergraduate programs, for example, in philanthropy across the country. And I feel very fortunate that I fell into it early, my senior year of college, when I had the opportunity to lead GW Senior Class Giving Campaign. And it was an annual fund-based campaign that was designed to help students realize early the joy of giving back to their alma mater. I think I lost Dr. Wicker, so I'm going to pause for a second. Let's see.
Are you still there, Kelley?
Dr. Wicker, yes, I'm
Can you
here.
hear me?
Yes, I can hear and see you now.
I don't. Again, the internet is not working, but we are going to be flexible and agile and just make it work anyway. So we were or see me.
You've frozen again.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Yep, can't see you, but I can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Dr. Wicker, if you can hear me, I can hear you sometimes, but I can't see you. Now I can't hear or see either.
Let me see, can I get a different connection? And
Sure.
we'll come back together in about 10 minutes.
Okay, sounds
Okay,
good.
so we'll exit
Mhm.
and come back in 10 minutes.
Sounds good.
Thanks. Okay, it should be much better.
Oh, awesome.
Awesome. I had to go into the lounge. It wasn't working in the airport. So
Oh,
thank
no, I know how that airport Wi-Fi can be.
yeah, thank you. And thank you to the audience that has stuck with us as Kelly and I are going to just have a nice, wonderful woman to woman girl conversation. And so you were going to tell us about your background and how you got into philanthropy.
Sure. So kind of as you mentioned, I'm from Metro Detroit, but had the privilege of going to George Washington University for my undergrad and for my master's degree. And while I was there, I got very lucky that I fell into development a little bit earlier than some folks do. Development tends to be a profession that folks fall into because there are very few undergraduate programs. I think the last I heard was like 3 in the country for philanthropy. And so, yeah, a lot of people come from sales or from other professions. But I had the privilege when I was a senior at GW of having a role to lead our senior class giving campaign at the university, and it was a job that exposed me to the development office at the university, and that's when I realized that people got to have these wonderful careers where you can ask people to support causes that are important to them or important to you and that are doing great work in the world. You get to meet really interesting people and really see a tangible impact in the work that you're doing. And I've pretty much done it ever since. Done kind of short stints and a couple of times in communication or things that are related to what we call advancement, which is kind of the combination of development and communications, especially in the nonprofit world. And I love it. Right now, I'm a senior major gifts officer at the Detroit Institute of Arts. I'm very, very pleased to have just joined their development team actually earlier this spring. And it has been a really exciting role and really enjoying my time
I
and
can't
working with
imagine.
organizations that are closer to the city of Detroit.
I can't imagine because the Detroit Institute of Arts is a gorgeous facility.
It is.
So to have the privilege to go into that every day or whenever you desire, it's got to be, a thrill.
It's a very fun office to have. It's very fun to just
Well,
walk through Rivera Court in the
congratulations.
morning. Thank you. Thank you. Really.
Congratulations. I mean, coming from Mayo Clinic is no joke. So what
Yeah.
was that experience like?
It was incredible. It was really incredible. I was a fundraiser for the last 3 years before joining the DIA, 3.5 years, for Mayo Clinic, working with benefactors who lived in the state of Michigan. And it was just absolutely incredible to be able to support an institution. Mayo Clinic is the #1 hospital in the world that is not only saving the lives of its patients and doing so much in the lives of the patients that come through the door of Mayo Clinic, but also whose research touches healthcare globally and broadly.
Yeah.
And so that multiplier effect was really, really gratifying to be able to help folks who had oftentimes had, a serious or complex disease, some sort of health crisis that had brought them to Mayo Clinic, to help them find meaning in that story through paying that generosity forward and making really wonderful philanthropic gifts to the institution.
Wow.
And it was my first time working in healthcare, and I enjoyed the experience a great deal. It was really,
Well, I
really
mean, starting your career, you've had some major opportunities with some very well established institutions.
yes.
So, I mean, you're playing it big starting out. But you have this quote that you said, and when you were nominated for the Career Master
Yes.
Award. And by the way, congratulations on
Thank
receiving
you.
that award this year as an emerging leader.
Thank you.
The quote is, "When I dare to be powerful, to use my strength in the service of my vision, then it becomes less and less important whether I am afraid."
Yes.
That is very powerful. Tell me why that inspires you and how you chose that as your quote.
Oh, sure. I love quotes. So I had a hard time picking one, but I think the reason that that one stuck out to me in relation to my career is that development is an extremely rewarding and fundraising is an extremely rewarding profession. And sometimes it can also be a nerve-wracking one. You're usually working with some pretty big goals. One of my mentors, Mike Morrisberger, who was my vice president when I was at George Washington, told me the advice very early on in my career: no margin, no mission. And so a lot of times you're bringing in funds that are going to affect the mission of the organization. And so that can be nerve wracking sometimes. And it's also, people are always like, oh, you ask for money for your career? Is that, is that scary? And a lot of times I say, no, it's not scary, talking about gifts, but sometimes it is.
Yeah.
And so I've come to learn that when you just kind of embrace that fear and you embrace the anxiety of it and you use it toward taking that energy to channel it toward the positive impact that your work is going to have, it makes it a lot easier to just say, it doesn't matter whether I'm scared or not. There's a mission that we need to support. And so it focuses you back on what the big picture is.
I mean, I wish I had that thought when I started as an entrepreneur because I came from corporate. And
Yeah.
then when I started as an entrepreneur for the nonprofit, I had to learn how to ask for money, which
Yeah.
is very intimidating if that's not something that you are used to doing. So sounds like you did it afraid, even if you were afraid, but now you really have a passion, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of times what you're really asking people to do is to invest in the mission of an organization and to usually to co-vision the future of that organization with you. And so it's usually less about the dollars and the funds and more about the investment and the shared resources. So it just happens kind of naturally. But it is something I have to remind myself of every day. I will not pretend to be perfect at
Yeah,
that.
yeah. I
I keep
mean,
the quote on my little whiteboard so that I remember it.
it takes a certain talent to do the kind of work you do. So what fuels your passion day to day?
Sure. I think it goes a couple of things. One, it's people. One of the things that I love the most about this work is just the impact that it can have on people and the way that it can help people give voice, speaking of voices, to their stories, to things that have happened to them, whether it's that, they had these wonderful experiences growing up at the DIA, and so now they want to support the operating endowment so that we can make sure that other students like them are able to have those experiences in perpetuity, or in higher education it's paying forward a scholarship, or in healthcare it's someone who has had perhaps a difficult health experience, and then they're able to help contribute to research funding that will make that particular disease area less prominent moving forward, and that less people will have to go through, fewer people rather will have to go through that particular disease. So giving people helping people see the value of their story is something that's really important to me. And then also going back to the no margin, no mission.
Mm.
My grandfather was a politician, and one thing that he always impressed upon me, he was at one point chair of the appropriations committee for Congress, and that he said that every other committee is kind of window dressing, because if you don't have the money to do something, you can have all the ideas in the world, but it's the funds that make it possible.
That's true.
And so helping to make those things come to fruition is something that I'm really passionate about.
That's true. I like that. I mean, I'll keep that in mind because a lot of times you're sitting here like, where I'm going to get the funds, how do I
Yeah,
go
yeah.
fund it? But at the end of the day, that's what lifts the whole mission, right? Is being
Mhm.
able to have the necessary resources to get the work done, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so when you think about the Detroit Institute of Arts, in that role, the mission of that is the museum, or tell me more about the role that you're doing.
Sure. So I'm fundraising. There's a team of us that fundraise for the Detroit Institute of Arts, and our real focus right now is on the operating many things across the institution, upcoming exhibitions, but especially on the operating endowment of the institution. The Detroit Institute of Arts has been building up its endowment, which is the funds that exist in perpetuity and are invested, and then the funds that spin off of that investment are used to fund all of the wonderful programs that the institution does. Right now, the institution has quite a bit of funding from the Tri-County Millage, and we are really proud to be able to support having students from Wayne, Oakland, and Macomb County, which are the three counties right around Detroit, be able to come in for school trips, and anyone who lives in the Tri-County area is able to have free admission. And so we want to be able to have an endowment that will support that same type of access long and long into the future after the millage expires in 2032.
Wow, wow, that sounds exciting. In fact, we just celebrated our 10th anniversary for Career Mastered, and we held the Legends Ball
Yes,
right
yes, yeah.
at the Detroit Institute of Arts, and it was fabulous. So
It
I
is
know in
wonderful.
order to have that type of venue, to have the artifacts and all the things that certainly make up the ambiance of the Detroit Institute of Arts,
Yes.
you have to have funding. And I got to tell you, there was nothing lacking in that celebration in that venue.
Wonderful. It really
So
is an incredible, just voted by USA Today, the top art museum in the country. Really one of the most significant and one of the most diverse collections in terms of the different types of arts we have from the different historical eras, different cultures. It really is a gem of an institution for Detroit, for the world, which is really wonderful.
well, take me back to your hometown, Detroit.
Sure.
That's where you're
Yeah.
from, and I recall you when I won't tell the age, but just a smitten of a little girl,
Yeah.
because I know your mom. But tell me, and the audience about Detroit and how you came and how your background has contributed to the rich contribution of your career being on the path that it is.
Sure. I always say I have the world's best village. I am just so incredibly blessed from my mom, as you described. And I think I have a toddler, I have a 3-year-old. And watching my mom was an entrepreneur like you. She was a journalist and then started her own video production company when my sister and I were young. And being able to have her support, one, she like picks up my son, and Gigi is his best friend. It does all the things. But even having the example of watching her um, be a working mom, watching her be able to figure out the way to balance being a very present mom and then also pursuing her professional passions was something that I just feel so blessed to have to have grown up with in my ecosystem, and had to have grown up with really wonderful grandmothers, aunts. We have a huge family and a huge village here in Metro Detroit that I'm so grateful for. That inspired in me the concept of using your career to give back, and then also to making sure that you're continuing to build community along the way. So that's
Mhm.
something that's super important to me. I lived in Washington, D.C. for 6 years, and I loved it, but I realized that when I got ready to come back home, I just missed Detroit, because I really do think that in the Metro Detroit area, we have just a really special community here. It is in some ways the biggest small town, I think, in the area. It really, lots of people know everyone. It's just a really warm place. There's just really something special about Detroit. And so it's always fun to do the work here.
Well,
And
I
I'm
got to tell you, you're right. Because I mean, I'm in Charlotte. I come back to Detroit every chance I get, and I'm a grandmother as well. And so I find my way back. But there's just nothing like the camaraderie, the community in the Motor City,
absolutely,
right?
absolutely.
Now, tell us about your proudest moment.
Sure. Oh, that's a great question. I've had a couple that I love. I think one of the proudest moments as a kind of a theme that I always really loved. So before fundraising for healthcare and now in the arts, I spent about 10 years fundraising in higher education. And one of the days or that I really, really loved across both Wayne State University, where I worked, and the University of Michigan, was getting to see when we would help a donor who was interested in creating a scholarship for a student, then get to meet that scholarship student. And that happens in different ways. At Wayne State, at the College of Education, we had a luncheon every year. And then at University of Michigan, we had different ways of connecting students to their scholarship recipients. But that type of moment where you get to see the donor meet the person, or get involved with the researchers who is going to benefit, or the curator in the case of art, who will benefit from their work, is just this magical moment that you can't really describe. It's tears. I'm not even a crier. I always end up like crying somewhere. But those moments are really some of the proudest of my career. Really.
Awesome, awesome. And then, lastly, but certainly not least, many people look to make an impact in the world,
Mhm.
and you're doing that now. Do you recall the moment when you realized that you were making an impact in the world? Now that you've graduated and you're now in the marketplace making a difference, when did you realize that?
That's a great question. I think I think the first time that I realized it, and it's part of what has inspired me to continue in this career path, is going back to that first job in development I had, even as a student. We raised, I think, $77,000, which at the time was the most that a class had raised for the university at George Washington in their senior year. And we had kind of one of those classic big check presentations where the board came out, and my wonderful family, my parents came in from Michigan. It was graduation weekend. My grandparents came, a lot of my friends, and just folks from across the community. And being able to see the community and the class at GW take so much pride in what they had collectively done, to be able to see my family get to see a little bit of the impact of my work, and to just see that number, and to see that was going to be supporting an institution I loved. That was, I think, the first time that I realized that all the work that you do in development has a real tangible impact. And it's just continued to inspire me to this day.
Awesome, awesome. Well, I consider you the next generation. I
Oh,
mean,
that's
you
so
are
kind.
leading,
We're
no
trying to
doubt.
keep up with you. That's all.
You are leading, no doubt. And in terms of why we call you emerging leaders, because us folks are moving out the way, and certainly you're coming on board to kind of take the reins, and you're doing extremely well. Your sister, by the way, congratulations to your family
Thank you.
on
So proud of our Dr. Stokes-Samuel.
I
Very proud.
know it. I'm so excited for her as well
Dr.
as you.
Stokes-Mason. Oops, sorry, I'm getting
Yeah,
all the hyphens in our
hey,
family mixed
she's,
up.
she's got it, and the two of you guys have celebrations. Like you just got a new job, new
That's,
opportunity, and
yeah.
back home in Detroit with your family and your baby. and hubby, and then she's just got married with a new
Yes.
doctorate. I'm sure your parents are proud, and your dad and your whole family is very well known and doing great work in Detroit. But
Well, thank
I
you.
mean, no doubt that you two young women were going to do well. But why do you think it's important for experienced women to reach back and help women and to lead by example?
Sure. I mean, I think any of us, anyone who feels like they've achieved something in their career has to admit that you did not get there on your own. Like I would not have been able to achieve anything in my career. Like you said, first of all, starting with my family, my incredible parents, the work ethic that they instilled in me, the wonderful leaders that I've had the privilege to work with, and colleagues across fundraising, across institutions. Especially, I've had the wonderful privilege of getting to work with some really awesome women leaders, per the topic of today, throughout my career and development, and I've been so grateful for that. But I think it's just important to make sure that you leave the door open behind you when you're moving into a new opportunity, and that you bring people through that door with you, to make sure that if you're the first to do something, you're never the last. And so
Yes,
that has just been incredibly important to me, and something that I try to do in small ways.
I love it. Well, you're doing a great job, and I want to have some fun with you. So let's do a quick
Sure.
round here.
Okay.
The Tell me about the one book that everyone should read that you think.
Oh, the first that comes to mind is always The Warmth of Other Suns. I think it is an absolutely, I'm a product of the Great Generation in my own, I'm sorry, the Great Migration in my own family, but I think it's an incredible book just to talk about the history of the United States, and the impact of the Black community. So
And
always
what's the
recommend
name of it again?
The Warmth of Other Suns by Isabel Wilkerson.
Okay, we'll note that. And then dream vacation for you and your family.
Oh, Hawaii, easy choice. Hawaii would be fun. Some sun and some sand with the toddlers. Very fun at my
And
husband.
favorite coffee.
Oh, that's a great question. Oh,
Do you drink coffee?
oh, actually, easy question. One of my favorite parts at working at the DIA is that we have the Kresge Court Cafe, and I go down and get an oat milk latte like every morning. It's the best. It's the best coffee shop in Detroit, right
I
in the
love
museum.
it. I love it. And last, do you have a career master moment advice or tip that you'd like to leave other women?
Yes. I recently saw a blogger who talked about thinking about trying to think really intentionally about the best case scenario in your life. And she actually advocated for something called best case scenario journaling in the morning, which I've been trying to do.
Oh,
And it has been a real game changer for me. I think that sometimes the world can be so uncertain, and careers are uncertain, and you're trying to figure out what's going on and what you want to do, especially as women professionals, and being able to think about what could go right, what could be great, what's going to keep me positive and motivated, it has been something that is really important, I think, to just focus on as you move forward in your career.
I love it. Well, I'm excited that no matter what we, charge through, Kelley Stokes-Samuel and Dr. Wicker did it even through the technology challenges today.
Yes,
The
just
fact
like
that the
today.
fact that my flight was delayed by 1 hour, I still kind of got in here and I said, we're going to do this show today. So thank you for your flexibility and
Oh,
thank you for the knowledge that you've shared with our audience. I want the audience to know, even though there may have been a few little breaks in this interview, we have at least the content of about a 30-minute discussion, and there's a replay opportunity for you and your guests and
okay,
friends and family. So that will be available on LinkedIn as well as Facebook and YouTube. And
wonderful.
so I'm looking forward to continuing this conversation in the chat after we have ended the conversation. Thank you again. And I'm looking forward to seeing you, hopefully, if you get time, in Detroit at our May 20th
Oh,
brunch.
yes, I'll be there. I cannot wait. And thank you. I'm just so honored to participate. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you. And it was nice talking to you. Bye now.
Great talking with you.
Bye
Bye.
bye.
Safe travels.
Thank you. That was Kelley Stokes-Samuel. Excellent, excellent emerging leader. I wanted to share with you just before I log off today from our show is that Career Mastered is live here in New York City. We're ecstatic about the opportunity, a historical one for our organization, and we'll talk about that tomorrow. But I just wanted to share with you that we have a delegation of about 20 people that will be joining us, 20 supporters of Career Master here tomorrow here at Hotel Indigo, where we're hosting the New York Brunch with the Masters. Our honoree that will be with us and author is Pat Headley. Pat is the author of Meet 100 People. We have her to sign books as well as present her the Distinguished Leadership Award from Career Masters. She was the 2025 honoree, and we're meeting her right here in the heart of New York City in the Wall Street District. Lastly, we want to thank Dr. Vanessa Tyler and Donna Moore, who are our ambassadors for this brunch with the Masters tomorrow. And we have good news that we'll be sharing tomorrow as we are going to be live here in Detroit. I'm sorry, in New York City. So we're excited about that. And then lastly, be sure to check us out in Charlotte on May the 6th, as well as Detroit on May the 20th for those Brunch with the Masters series. We are absolutely having a great ball. We're going across the nation with conversations that matter, resources that matter, and tools that matter that help women advance their leadership. And so we're excited about tomorrow's announcement. You'll hear all about it as the delegation from Career Master, are right here in the heart of New York City. Thank you, Kelly, for your conversation today, and I look forward to seeing everybody within the next week. Have a great one.